Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries, here we are at Authentic Studios, and we're going to get this party started. So stand by, we're going to play the game.
Greetings, Internet friends. Welcome to another episode of the Synergy Cafe online show, featuring speaker, entertainer, close-up illusionist, and marketing alchemist, Magic Brad. It's the Internet lifestyle show about career, finance, relationships, spirituality, and wellness. We're moving the online chatter over to real-life activity. And now, please welcome your host of Synergy Cafe, Magic Brad.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries, it's me, Bradley G. here, and now I'm in New Hope, Minnesota. And we're in a peak state because we got two peaks right here. Peak, woohoo!
Actually, three.
That is true. Three.
And peak number three.
Really peeking
He's
out.
ready. He's ready.
Ready.
He's ready to make his appearance.
So the topic for today is authenticity, and this is a great place to do it because this is Authentic Reflections Studio, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And this came to me this morning, and that's when these things usually do. All of a sudden I get an idea when to do it. And I noticed that things had changed a lot in the business world and the event world in general, where we used to wear suits and ties and ladies wore business suits and now people are more laid back, and sometimes they edit their videos. I like to do them raw like this. This is going to be unedited. So you're not going to see any fake stuff. It's all going to be the real deal. No artificial intelligence here. It's all real intelligence.
I'm not sure if that makes it better. But
so I've been spinning around since the COVID thing, like you guys have known. I'm trying to grasp something. And the only way I can explain it is I jumped out of an airplane. I'm reaching for something that's stable. And I always go bouncing back to the event world. So that's kind of where I'm going back to. You guys can ask me any questions you want about the event industry. I got a plethora of information.
So is the event industry like your parachute?
That's a great question. I guess so. Yeah. I got to grab something
And then
before I splat.
when you pull it and it doesn't come out, do you have a backup parachute?
No.
Okay.
Well, I do too. I got my magic stuff.
You got your back.
Yeah.
All right.
And then
So
I
it's
got,
like there's a magic parachute.
then there's death. That works too.
It's a quick end to the long fall.
It doesn't matter much. But I've been doing event stuff since I was a little kid, since I was like about 10. I remember the first thing I did was a muscular dystrophy fundraiser event. And I think it was Casey Jones or something like that. Remember Casey Jones? And Roundhouse Rodney? And they had this little kit. I ordered the kit, and you get it. You're supposed to do all this stuff and create a carnival to raise money for muscular dystrophy. And I turned our riding lawnmower into a train, tied a bunch of wagons behind it, and give the kids a quarter little train ride. And I sold them coffee or cookies and Kool-Aid.
Nice.
Did magic shows in the garage and charged them a quarter to watch.
Sounds like a blast.
Yeah, so I've always been entrepreneurial, and it's always been sort of event related because of the magic stuff. And I got involved with it at a young age, and I did have a job out of high school for about 4 or 5 years, and then I got laid off, and I thought, where's my gold watch? How come I don't have a job anymore? And I thought, heck with it. I'm just going to do my own deal, be self-employed. That way I'm in more control. And I started participating in events. And a lot of people don't realize how big the event industry is. And a quick side story is I was trying to stay focused on events, and Monica was trying to keep me in line. This was years ago. This was way before COVID, because I got this entrepreneurial ADD. I'm always looking at something else to do. And we went to a spiritual consciousness type of event. And one of the exhibitors had this stuff that you mix grandma up with the dirt. You put her ashes in with the dirt, and you plant it, and it's a tree. So now grandma's in the back of the yard, and you can remember grandma because she's growing in your backyard. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I thought that would be a cool thing. I could see marketing that. And Monica says, you're supposed to stay focused on events. And I said, a funeral's an event. so that was my bounce back to the event stuff. And over the years, there's so many different types of events, and people don't understand how big it is, because you got corporate events, and within that vertical of corporate type events, there's client appreciations and employee parties and sales meetings and product launches and trade shows and retreats and team building functions and like in-house meetings and awards banquets, just in the corporate world. And then you go into the associations. They've got their conferences and conventions and membership drives and all that stuff. And then there's weddings. You know about weddings. There's a plethora of different types of weddings. That's just a big industry all in of itself. And there's not a lot to it. I mean, there's limousines and the venue and dresses. You got I was never married, so I don't really understand. What is it, bridesmaids?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And groom's dinners?
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on.
And is there like pre-planning type events too, like
Oh, yeah.
baby showers after?
Yep.
Or before? That stuff happens. Whoops. So, I don't know, it's big. Concerts, fairs, festivals, fundraisers. So I'm going back that direction.
Makes sense.
I hope so. Maybe
What's your-
dollars.
What's your favorite kind of event?
Something that's not so serious. You know, I like small, intimate groups rather than the big, giant raves or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like smaller things myself personally because I'm sort of introverted kind of dude.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Sometimes big events, like I remember going to the Minnesota State Fair once and going over that hill where they have the milk thingy.
Mm-hmm.
You go over the hill and I saw all these people. There's a lot of people. And I thought they all look different. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That everybody looks different. They got this basic same features of eyes and nose and stuff, but they all look different. How's that work?
Oh no, we're all kind of unique. All I remember is whenever you go up and on top of the hill and you're looking down and you're at the Minnesota Fair, you just see a sea of people. It's not just a few people. It's just a moving
That's what I mean.
Body mass sea. of
Exactly.
people.
Thousands, and they all look different.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me. How does that work?
I don't know. I think that's a thing that a lot of people want, is they want to strive to be different.
Let's talk about consciousness type events,
Yeah,
because you're into that stuff.
absolutely.
And we're kind of going that direction
Mm.
with all these people looking different. Have you guys ever found your doppelganger?
No, I've never met anybody who looked just like me.
Not really. I've
Yeah.
had people tell me I look like people,
But
but
not
just
like
like just like actresses and things like that.
Well, I mean, I duplicated myself in a way.
Yes, it is true.
Well, when they're
So
your
my son literally looks like a spitting image of me.
yeah, when they're babies, they all look the same, right? And then they get old and they get character, different personalities.
I wouldn't even say they all look the same, and they all have
They don't?
She
No.
would say they already have their own personality
Yeah,
in the
in the
belly.
womb.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
For
and they
sure.
affect her emotions differently. Each one of them, I mean, this is number 7, and each one of them has been a whole different experience for her. In fact, she likes to talk about how having babies is like a psychedelic experience.
Yes.
Being pregnant is like a psychedelic experience.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, I was a part of a women's circle this last year where I got to take ayahuasca, and I was with about 30 women, and I would say maybe 3 of them had actually ever had children before. And I went through the whole experience, and by the end of it, I was like, okay, so just so you know, this is a hell of a lot like having a baby.
Really?
It's a lot like it. Now, I mean, obviously you're not having the pain, as in you're not having the contractions and things like that. However, usually you throw up. Sometimes you have other things that happen to you. You lose it on the other end. But apart from like those very, just like bodily functions, like the psychological experience is so similar, because you go through this where you go into a meditative, you kind of have to go into this meditative state to get through it. And when you're going through that whole experience, you learn things about yourself. Whether, some people, if they do something like they take extra medication, they're not going to experience it the same way. But
Right.
by the time you get to the end of it, you've died. You've died. With ayahuasca, you die. With having a baby, you die. There's a point where you die. And then you come out of it and you have this huge adrenaline rush because you had a baby on the other end. And whether it is a breakthrough, like a baby breakthrough in your mind, or it's an actual physical baby in your arms, there's a breakthrough there. It's really an interesting experience.
So you think it's like a chemical thing too?
Yes, absolutely.
So you got
100%.
I don't know what's in ayahuasca.
Well, you definitely have some oxytocin that happen. I think that there's probably DMT that's going through you when you're having babies too. And I mean, in some way, because we naturally make it, there's going to be probably that element in there as well. And then the adrenaline at the end. It's like,
is that why women are more spiritually enlightened than men?
probably.
Because they've seen Jesus.
Because they
It's
have the
because they've
natural
died.
psychedelic experience.
They've already died. I think that, I mean, people always say like this, people who have near-death experiences, they definitely tend to have a more spiritual understanding of life. And I'm not saying that birth is a near-death experience, because it's not necessarily. However, can be.
Well, you can go on, I'm gonna die.
There is absolutely a moment where your body thinks it cannot do it anymore. And the science of it shows that when the baby's coming out, your body basically shuts down for like it does this shutdown for like just a second or something, and it causes you to have a little death. And then you have your baby, and then you see your baby, and then all this huge rush of adrenaline and oxytocin and all the cocktail makes you forget what just happened to you. And all you do is look at your baby. Oh my God, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You go do ayahuasca, you're going to be like, wow, that was amazing. And you're forgetting all the shit that probably happened during the experience.
That's weird. I never thought I would hear that.
Well, I don't think that the women that I was with really like that was a really mind-blowing thing for them, because I think a lot of women fear birth. And I was in this room with 30 women who've done ayahuasca and all manner of different kinds of practices, and they've never had a baby before. And I was just, I think it was kind of an enlightening thing for them to understand that they are no less than me. They have had some experience similar to birth, and so they should not fear it.
I'm just putting on a little monitor here so we can see what's going on. See,
Oh, look at that. That's
works.
us talking.
It's right there.
But in any case,
I never heard that before.
Well, that's
you made
my
this
opinion.
up.
Well, maybe I did. Maybe that's
But
maybe
you
it's
would
just
know,
me, but I
right?
don't think so.
Well, what did the other women say that had been through the experience?
I think that generally speaking, they were, in agreement. I think I really internalize my births. Like they really shape me. They change me energetically. It's a lot. Every single baby that comes through me, I consider myself basically a portal. I'm like this portal, and then these little souls come flying around and go, "Ooh, let's hop through that portal." And then they hop through the portal, and then they forever change me, and their DNA lives within me, and I get to learn from them.
That's funny.
So it's a very spiritual experience.
Do they come in through your crown chakra? And
I'm not sure. Okay, like
hang
this
out?
has never happened except this one time. But this baby, I actually had a moment where I saw a little spark flying around about a month before I got before I got pregnant. I told Casey, I was like, I think there's a little soul that's trying to get in, and I was kind of freaked out. And I told him, and Casey's like,
Yes,
no,
she
no,
did.
we
She
don't
was
wanna
talking
do
about
this
it.
now. We don't want to do this right now. I was like, I know, I don't. Sorry, little guy. I was like, but he's really excited. He really wants to get in here. So that
Was that during an ayahuasca trip?
No. No, it wasn't. But it was just a kind of a funny thing. And I mentioned that to another friend of mine who has 10 children. And she's, I have a lot of connections with people who have lots of babies. But in any case, she told me that she had had a similar experience with one or two of her kids. And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, I don't know what that means, but
it's a recreational drug addiction where you guys got to have kids because you get off on it.
Okay, so that is a thing. That is a thing. I don't think that's what I'm doing, but I do know people that I think that is a thing.
Well, that's some of the concerns.
Yes.
Speaking of like hallucinogenics and stuff, Casey and I had talked earlier about like, why is it illegal? Because in some places it's illegal. And I lost my train of thought.
Why is it illegal? Yeah.
Yeah, why is it? I suppose people look at it that don't understand that type of thing and think it's a drug and it's going to lead to worse stuff. Like you're going to take ayahuasca, then you're going to start mainlining heroin.
Well, there's an interesting story that actually happened years and years and years ago. We're talking about, back whenever it was first made illegal, 1964, there was actually a big meeting that ended up happening between all the head powers. And they got together and they talked about it. It's whenever they were making it all illegal. And when they were making it illegal, they actually used one of the things that they actually very specifically said was that if everybody starts having these experiences, they won't want to go to war anymore.
Oh,
we can't have that. That is literally what they said.
I heard something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's actually
that's one of those deep Joe Rogan topics we could get into now.
Well, and Nixon's aide actually came out, and because he was the aide at the time under Nixon, he actually came out and said that they knew that everything they were saying was dead false, that it was all a bunch of lies, that really it was all about how war made them all money. And he actually had a lot of the stuff written down. He wrote a book about it and stuff too.
Yeah, that stuff's starting to come out now, and all this political stuff about the war reasons, the real reasons for starting a war.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think that's really, really pathetic. I mean, we're on a whole nother topic now. It's a different kind of event. I wasn't thinking about talking about wars.
That is a different event.
Well, it actually is funny because I'm really connected to the birth world, and they look at a lot of people in the birth world look at traumatic births, things like circumcision, and just some of the practices around birth that have made it really, really traumatic in the past couple generations, at least, as contributing to trauma that people live with for the rest of their life, which contributes to things like war. Because when you have not dealt with your trauma, you tend to lash out and you do things that you wouldn't do otherwise. So it's actually kind of interesting how it all works.
It all ties together.
So it's easier for, like, say there's some evil genius up there. It's easier for them to create a war because people are more apt to fight because of their trauma.
If they're living in trauma and they do not see past they do not see more than what is just, very, very obvious. They don't go deeper. They don't question. They don't look internally. Then they're not looking beyond themselves. Then if you don't look beyond yourself and you're constantly just like all about me, and what I need, and I got to keep from, having this bad thing to happen to me or that bad thing to happen to me, you're not thinking about how it's impacting other people. And that's that's the theory around taking things like psychedelics or having births that do not have trauma. In one case, you're healing trauma. Psychedelics are helping to heal trauma. And then in the other case, you're just not having the trauma.
Mhm.
You're learning how to work with your body. You're learning how to work. The baby's learning how to work with the mom. The mom's learning how to work with the baby. Everything works together. And then they're creating a better future just by not bringing trauma into the world.
Well, the whole thing, you know, that a lot of the deep consciousness stuff sees the world as one. It's more of a holistic approach to things.
Yeah, that we're all related.
And I think the people up on top that are going, geez, I could start this war and make, you know, a couple million, couple
Yeah.
billion. And they just do it. They're so far away from this humanity issue, because people wonder, like right now what's going on? What is it going on with the
Middle East.
yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, with
I can't-
Israel and Pakistan.
Yeah, those places. Thanks for talking for me, because I can't think. I can't think for myself. I appreciate you. That they wonder who's at fault because they're dropping a bomb and they're killing innocents. And then someone else comes over and does blah, blah, blah. And you wonder who's at fault. It's the person that pushed the button or pulled the trigger. That's the one that's doing it. So they got to quit doing that, no matter what they're told.
But a lot of those people are like literally being created to be psychopaths. A lot of those people
Yeah,
are,
they're being programmed into it.
yeah, they're like
Yeah.
programmed.
That's
that way.
what a lot of,
Yeah.
like what you're saying about the reason that they wanted to have the drugs so that make it illegal, so
Mhm.
that they
Yeah.
went to war. And I think it's weird that there's people that are actually doing that stuff, but it just makes so much logical sense.
Mhm.
And some people are in denial of that stuff.
But that's
Well,
what
it does, and
yeah.
it's kind of shocking because, like, whenever you start looking at it, you know, if we all start healing and we all start seeing each other as our brethren, I mean, if you know, we've talked about similar things this before about, you know, how there's like religious ties and with that kind of concept and everything else about feeling like everybody is your brethren, right? And if we start feeling that way on a regular basis, we're not going to want to go kill each other. And if we don't want to go kill each other, the jig is up. Their game for making billions and billions and billions of dollars and being on top of the world and being able to say, well, you need a leader to tell you what to do all the time because otherwise people are going to kill you and take your stuff. That game's done. That game doesn't work anymore if everybody starts thinking like
You know,
that.
the whole billions of dollars thing, I can't comprehend why someone would need $1 billion.
I don't even think that the money is really
No, I think it's a
about it.
game. I think it's a game.
I think it's about the resources. I think it's about controlling the resources because if you can control the resources, you can
I
control
mean,
the
it's
people.
like it's a chess game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people say like we're pawns. We are not pawns. We're just another resource. We're not even on the game.
Pawns are resources.
We're just cattle. I mean, that's the way they look at us. They look at us like cattle.
I'm not even sure if they even look at us like cattle. I think they look at us like minerals that they mine out of the ground. I think for people that are that high up, the game is so radically different that they don't even have the concept that we're even alive. They have the concept that we are just another resource to tap. It's just like building a new mine and then saying, okay, send the ants to go mine it.
So who do you think the they is?
Well, I knew that was coming. But
Yeah.
there's very, very, very old families that rule the world.
They've been around for a long time.
They're the people that you don't see on TV. They're the people that just have a lot of power, and they're the ones that fund all the elections. They're the ones
Little
that
underground stuff.
make everything happen.
Or
And
is-
it's not even a conspiracy. It's just what it is. Like, it's just because they're not in front of a camera, people aren't aware of them, but they're there.
Right. And the whole concept of conspiracy even has a misunderstanding with it. People think that conspiracy somehow means
Tinfoil hats.
tinfoil hats, but it really just means a group of people getting together and making plans. We are
Conspiring.
conspiring right now.
We
Yeah.
conspire all the time.
Sure.
If we conspire about our daily lives, why wouldn't other people?
Sure. They're figuring out some way of beating the system or whatever.
Or
Creating
or
the system.
building a system.
Yeah.
Their end of it is, hey, we're going to build a system so that way, you know, we continue to stay in power and we have lots of wealth and we can do anything that we want. And then the little guys are like, hey, we're going to build a system so that way we don't starve.
Yes. So to bring
it's
it back though to what we were trying to talk about, like the way we, the little guys, change things is we just say we're not playing the game anymore.
Yeah, step out of the game.
Mhm.
That's
It's actually
that's
what
the only way.
well Elizabeth and I did in 2020. So we had been talking about for years starting our own business and going along that route of it. And finally, as I had gone through corporation move, and you know, um, both of us wanted to do our own thing. And after we got together, we just looked at it and we were like, look, we need to do this. We need to step out of the game. We need to do our own thing. Yes, it's going to be hard. We should do it anyways. And so that's what
Well,
we did.
the game
Which is how we met you.
is the game is limited. It's digital. It's in a box. There's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much person is willing to compensate if you're doing that
Right.
hourly wage kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you're stuck in that box, and that's where a lot of people are. And they've been programmed since they're a little kid. Go to school, the bell rings, you go in, you take lunch break, and you get done. You go home, and you do the whole thing again tomorrow.
Well, and they've been
Yeah.
taught that that's how to bring wealth and security into their life. And I
Right.
think that what's happening right now is since the pandemic, especially, people have come to realize that it's a lie. And a lot of these things that they've been taught since they were very, very young isn't real. Like
Right.
it's not true. And
Exactly.
there's a lot shifting with things like artificial intelligence coming into play. I mean, a lot of people's jobs are not going to be valid anymore in just a very short time.
Oh yeah, they're going away quick.
It's already
It's actually way quicker than I thought it would be.
and a lot. I mean, so I guess the pandemic for that situation is kind of a good thing that
Mhm.
it woke people up. And all of a sudden, they realize I don't have to do this job. I can just deliver pizzas for a couple days, and I could drive some Lyft, and maybe sell a couple things on Amazon and pay rent. That's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
Enjoy my life.
And you know what? We would be fine. I really believe that people would be fine if we did not have the overlords taxing us to death.
Mhm.
We did not consent to war. We did not consent to being taxed like 2/3 of our take home pay. We did not consent to any of these things. To ever identify and say, we, the American people, did this, I'm going, well, no, we didn't. There are just a few groups of people who are running all of these things and making these decisions for us. So again, what can we do? Well, at a certain point, you just have to start saying no.
Well, which
Or you
brings
can
us
use the tax code to your advantage.
well, this brings us back to
Totally
the
can.
original topic though, like because we're talking about, like all of these things, how to step outside of the system. That's actually where you come into play, right?
Mhm.
Because one of the things that you do is you help connect people with other like-minded people so that way they can meet up and decide, they can have their own little conspiracy and decide how they're going to move outside of the system that we have and create their own system
Yeah.
that other people want to participate in. And it's a voluntary system. So that's pretty fascinating. Like you should talk more about that.
I'm developing some stuff where a person could get compensated by doing their own agenda. Because sometimes, like with these things like affiliate programs and little side hustles and stuff, like a person might be a respected lawyer, then on the side they sell some kind of like multi-level marketing essential oil or something, and it ruins their reputation as a reputable, authentic lawyer because they're doing this little side hustle. So I'm working it where you can do that side thing, but it's underground. You don't even notice it. And you push your primary objective, and then those secret links and things are out of sight and nobody knows, but you still get compensated from it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what I'm also working on is this is public and everybody's going to know now. But that's okay.
Well, then they can call you,
Because
talk to you about it.
there's all this stuff with digital currency and cryptocurrency, and there's the digital currency that the banks are going to be using, and then there's other stuff that other people make, create their own little blockchain and their own little thing off the side. And so I'm building that in, knowing that that stuff is going to start taking place, where they are going to start taking control of, oh, you just bought a loaf of bread, you need peanut butter and jelly to go with that, and now you can't get out and start your car until you go back in and get peanut butter and jelly, because it's all tied together. And I know all that shit's going to start happening, so I'm working my way around it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we'll always find a way. I mean, humans.
Well, that's
will
what I think is
always find a way.
bizarre. Like being a magician, there's always a way.
Mhm.
Like when Trump wanted to build that wall and everybody's laughed at him, I thought, well, it's not really going to stop everybody 100%. It's going to help hinder, but you can go over it, you can go around it, you can go under it, you can bribe the guard, you can go on the side, you can figure out a way
Mhm.
to get through it. It's not a real wall.
Right.
There's always a way. Because with the magic thing, people sometimes wonder how magic works,
Mhm.
but we can only focus on one thing at a time. Yes, you do have your peripheral vision, but when you got 360 degrees in a circle and you pick one of those degrees, there's 359 ways to trick you. There's always a way.
Yeah.
So you're like one of the best people to be in a concentration camp with. You're
MacGyver.
gonna figure out how to
MacGyver.
get out.
That's right.
That's
Good
funny.
to know. Good to know.
Well,
You remember? Did you ever watch The Great Escape?
Love that
Um,
movie.
I love that movie.
I might have saw parts of it.
It's
But
such a good one. It's where they dig a hole. It was it was a true story actually, of a bunch of American soldiers during World War II who were in a German camp and they had to dig their way out. And there's like the different characters that like do different things, right? And I always was like, I want to be the person that knows where to get everything. That's what I always thought. I was like, I'm gonna be the person that knows, like,
very
I
resourceful.
want to know, I want to be able to be friends with the guard and like get them the baked beans they want and then get the cigarettes to the other guy who can like push this thing forward and then
Yeah.
we can get the spoons we need to dig our hole.
I think he was
Well,
one of the only ones that survived in the
Yeah,
end, right?
he was. He was one of
Yeah.
the only ones to survive.
He got on a motorcycle and went his own way.
No, that was a different guy, but yeah.
I had a magician friend that was he lived in Las Vegas, and he wanted to get a job with the casino to be able to catch people cheating.
Mhm.
And they said, we don't need you because we're secure here. We got it all figured out. We got all cameras and all that stuff. And he said, I challenge you. And he cheated. And all he did was he connected with the janitor that had keys to different places and bribed the janitor to be able to get in. And he went and marked cards and rewrapped them in the cellophane. So now the cards were marked and he was the only one that knew what the marks were. So I mean,
there are a lot of people that are at this point, they're professionals. They're either professional hackers or they're professional con men or whatever that go into these different situations and say, hey, I'm going to crack your system. And then they get paid for
White hats.
cracking the system
Mhm.
because
Right.
you need to know. I mean, gosh, I think they even do that with house, some of these security systems for houses.
Yep.
They'll send people to your house to try to break in and
yeah, to see
Make
if it
sure if
is,
make
see
sure
if it
it's
actually
good.
is secure.
There was
Mhm.
there was a guy I met who actually he was a burglar whenever he was young, and he got busted. Then he went to jail, and after he got out of jail, he was so good at it because he was cracking all these systems and everything for multi-million-dollar homes. And they finally caught him. They finally caught up to him. But after they did, they're like, we don't know how you like blew through like this or that. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, I can't really teach you. It's illegal. And they're like, no. You come to work for us. We're gonna pay you to be a burglar. You're gonna go burgle places for us, and we're gonna pay you money, and it's gonna be all legal. You're actually gonna get a slip that actually says that you're working for the security company to do this.
It just shows like even in the darkest times, you can take these little obscure talents and make the most of them.
Well, a lot of people don't realize how, if somebody's got that right mind, they know how to do that kind of stuff. It's not that difficult for them to be able to do that.
Right.
Mhm.
This is deep stuff. We kind of got off.
Well, to go back to the,
That's
we were
fun.
talking about,
Networking
well, we were actually talking about events
and events.
You were talking about more of the spiritual kind of events. So I was curious what kind of what kind of events you're thinking you want to do going forward in the spiritual vein.
Well, before COVID, I was working with a friend of mine that has 150 acres in Costa Rica, and we were going to build an event center in the jungle. And the idea is that you get away from all the technology and stuff, and you get into nature, and you sort of get away from all that other checking your phone and all that stuff, and it puts you in a different space to be able to do like team building retreats or ayahuasca or cacao or weddings or yoga or meditations or masterminds or whatever you want to do in this space. And it's all inside the jungle. There's nothing around. So that would be one.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Because they got other stuff going on there too. If you want to go out and do zip lining, hang gliding, whale watching, all that other stuff that they do down there in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Hang out with the monkeys and the macaws and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
So those,
Anything closer to home?
why not? I mean, it's not as. I mean, you can still do that. You can, like Monica and I go up to the Grand Marais, go to Bluefin Bay and just sit there and watch waves crash.
Nice.
And it just puts you in another spot. So yeah, there's places. I think there's probably a lot of places that we don't know about. And that's the kind of cool thing. You can find some place that does sweat lodges or something, or some place that does those things you're not supposed to do. Those places are around.
Yeah. I think this is not necessarily a spiritual gathering, but I thought it was really cool when I heard that Angela Aubert with Networking in Action wanted to put together an event where the networking people all went to a ice fishing.
She's doing
thing.
that.
Yeah. Isn't that coming up in January?
January, yes.
I think that's brilliant. Like, I've never been in a networking group where everyone was like, hey, let's take off for a weekend and have fun together. Like, it's brilliant. It's that's outside the norm.
We were talking about this, and I just had a meeting with a guy today, a coffee meeting. And you go to these business things, and you trade cards, and how can I help you with your business and all that stuff. And you forget about the building the relationship part. Mm-hmm. Why not go fishing first and then see if there's some kind of thing? Because sure, there is something somewhere, real estate agents and HVAC people and caterers, balloon decorators, staging, lighting. You just go and do something like go to Top Golf and go play darts. In fact, we're doing that on Synergy First Thursdays, December 7th at Punch Bowl Social. Nice. We're just going to hang out and eat hors d'oeuvres and play pinball or foosball or air hockey or whatever trips the trigger.
Well, and certain kinds of events, especially ones where you get away from your regular everyday life, it helps you shift your own energy so that you're able to interact with people differently.
Well, that's where you talked about events and adventures, and that what gave me the idea of that is when you go to an events and adventures thing, you're going rock climbing or some kind of adventure activity. The possibility of a relationship going from that is different than if you went to a wine tasting or a foodie thing. Mm-hmm. So similar kind of thing, you get people that resonate, and it's more apt that they're going to do business with each other.
Yeah.
Like if you're really into photography and somebody wants to do get their photos done, and you're in up at BIR at the races, it's going to be different than if you're learning about olive oil. Mm-hmm. It's two different vibes. Mm-hmm. Like, are you into the races?
I really love horses, so I like
horse races.
Horses race, but
not cars.
Not as much cars.
See, so there's a good example. You got cars and horses. Mm-hmm. If you were with a potential client at a horse race thing and they loved horses, it's much more probable that you're going to get the gig than going
absolutely
to do something you don't want to do. It's like, I hate these cars. They're too.
Yeah. Those cars
so that's what I'm doing with all this stuff, and I haven't quite figured out how to do it because it's so unorthodox and different. Mm-hmm. It's like
you basically need to create events and adventures for business networking people.
I did. It's Twin Cities business events.
There you go.
Right here, you can't see that, can you?
You'll have to just put up the link later.
Oh. This QR code on here, that goes to an affiliate link.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And that way it's easy. You don't have to worry about hooking it up and getting into WordPress and doing all that stuff. You just got to give this to somebody.
So what are some of the events coming up that you're really excited about?
That one, the Synergy First Thursdays, because we're going to have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's some other stuff that I got on that calendar. I'm trying to peg it. There's this thing called Creative Mornings. You guys should go.
Okay.
It's creative people. The guy that is hosting it, well, they do it on the same date everywhere in the world. And the Minneapolis one, his name is Drew. And they get about 200-300 people at like the Minneapolis Institute of Arts. And they have sponsors, so they've got bagels and coffee and bananas and pastries and donuts and stuff. And then you get to meet everybody. And they got a thing that I stole the idea to, is a collaboration station.
Mhm.
You take a piece of paper and you write a project that you might have and who you're looking for and stuff, and pin it up on the board. And then people go see that and they write it down and take down all those ideas. And then they got some speaker that's talking about whatever they talk about. And then everybody disperses. But they get a lot of people there, and it's a free event. So it's sponsored by somebody that's got money,
Mhm.
like George Soros or something. No, that wasn't it. I'm just teasing. I can do that. So that one, because I just like that event. And ironically, they're not doing it at Minneapolis Institute of Arts. They're doing it at the Forgotten Star,
Okay.
where we first met, kind of,
Mhm.
at the Forgotten Star. They're doing it in Fridley. Because I talked to Drew at
That's a cool place too.
at another event, at another trade show, an event-related trade show, and he was there. And he said they're having a hard time because of the event stuff, and it's just been impacted.
Mm.
The whole culture thing, it's all weird. A lot of event businesses went out of business, and then there's the culture of people that say, I don't want to go out of my house.
Yeah.
Just going to stay home.
We're all traumatized from being stuck indoors for years, and now we're like, I'm afraid to go out.
No, they're not. No, they're not. I don't think that they're afraid to go out. I think that they just don't want to. They don't have to.
It's like it's too much work.
No, I just order something on Amazon and open it up when it gets here.
Yep.
I don't need to go interact with a human.
Right.
I can create an AI human right on my phone
Well,
right here.
I mean, come on. This is also Minnesota. So 6 months of the year, Minnesotans barely leave their house.
It's true.
So on top of that, we're just it's like in the blood here. It's something that's it's generational trauma, if you will. It's not it's not
You guys
just
hung up on
because
the
of
trauma thing.
it's not just because of the pandemic, because it was already to some extent like this. I mean, I met this lady a few years back who is a recruiter for the Army, and she goes to all these different states and spends time there. And she said that out of all the states that she's ever been in, and she's probably been in half of them, this was the hardest state for her to make friends in. And she talked about it like, she's like, it's so weird because I got this house, we have a kid, and we're, trying to make friends with neighbors and stuff. But she explained it like, it feels like they're trying to, like, people are trying to court you. Like, they'll come down the drive and they'll put their mail in to, get sent off to the post office, and then they might like nod. And they'll do that for like the first few weeks of you living in your new house, and then maybe one day they'll wave, and then maybe then they'll get up the courage to maybe talk to you. And it's like this process, this long process. Right. And she was like, I don't have time for a process like that. I'm a recruiter.
Just come over, tell me your name, shake my hand.
Exactly. She's like, I don't have enough time. I can't be here for 5 years. I got to make friends quickly. So it was very, very hard for her because people just don't do it that way here.
Yeah, I used to tell people that, like, on the East Coast, they say what they're going to do, and then that's what they're going to do. They just tell you this is what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then in California, it's different. Because in the Midwest, they never make a decision. They just kind of waffle. In California, they tell you what they're going to do, but that's not what they're really going to do.
Yeah, I was telling somebody the other day, they were asking about what California was like, because they were talking about moving to California. And we met at the YMCA, pretty much right across the street.
Mm-hmm.
So we were having a talk about it, and he said, "Yeah, I'm looking at moving to North Hollywood and everything else." And I'm telling him about, because that's where I'm from. So I was telling him, "Oh yeah, it's kind of interesting there." I'm like, "It's not like here. You'll make friends much quicker, but you won't know that you're making friends." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, during the day you look at them wrong, and they say, 'Fuck you.'" What are you looking at?
When I was out there,
And then later on that evening, they're like, "Oh, hey, I'm having a barbecue this evening. You want to come over?" And
sure, I was playing the part of a New Yorker. Sorry, I cussed at you. Yeah, it's weird out there, and I think a lot of it I attribute it to because they're actors, and it's a dog eat dog world out there, so they're always trying to make it work for them. And there was a woman, she was in porn, and she got out of porn and she opened up a sandwich shop. And I got to know her. And I used to go there and have my coffee and my sandwiches and go there on a regular basis, got to know her. And then I moved back to Minneapolis, and I went out there once to visit a friend, and I thought, I'm going to go check out what's going on, see how she's doing. So I go there. She wasn't there. I left my business card. So I went away. I came back, and she was there. And she was busy working in the cash register, looking at some stuff. And I said, "Hi, you remember me?" And she takes my card, and she just holds it up. And she goes, "Yeah, you're this guy." She didn't even look at me. She just goes, "Yeah, you're this guy." That's cold. That's not Minnesotan, for Christ's sakes.
No, that's funny.
No, it wasn't.
I always attribute it. This is the way that I usually attribute it. It's literally what's left of the Wild Wild West. Wild Wild West has a major period of this westward expansion, and everybody was moving west because they were looking for less rules. That's what they were looking for. They were looking, hey, we want to get away. We want to go make it on our own. We want to go do it our own way. We want to go do this. So the westward movement began, right? And California was a whole different ball of wax, like just the way it was formed and everything. But even worse was LA. Los Angeles was crazy town. It was totally crazy town. Even the early government, I'm talking about before LAPD and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about back whenever it was literally, all horses and carriages, right? And it's just this little podunkville, horses and carriages and everything else. And literally it was being run by people who treated being a sheriff like or a peace officer in that area like being in a gang. And it just, that mentality continued on from there on out. Everybody's like, they're like, we got our own shit together, we don't need you. And they do their own thing.
I think that Casey should actually either write a book or start a TikTok channel that is exclusively about the history of that area, weaving in stories about his dad and his grandfather, because
they have
he
crazy
couldn't
stories.
talk for hours on this particular topic. And it is something that is obviously like really near and dear to his heart because he loves to be able to tell stories of his heritage. And it's definitely an influence in his life.
That's true.
So were you right in like North Hollywood, Burbank, Studio City, all that kind of area?
Oh, all around that area. I mean, I was from Norwalk specifically, but I used to hang out in all those areas. It just, we went all over the place. I mean, one of my favorite things to do, my Oma, right? Means grandmother in Dutch for anyone who doesn't know. Essentially, we used to, I was like 4 whenever we first did this. We used to just get on our bikes and ride to the beach. We would just go on the riverbed and we just ride right out to the beach. And we'd, it's on a bike, I'd say probably it's like 40 minutes. As a kid, it was more like an hour 15.
When you said riverbed, you mean that concrete river?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. The thing that was a river until they concreted it in, and then all the water went away, and then they went, I don't understand why we're having a drought. Honestly, they actually have a plan to finally get rid of all of the concrete in there.
It's weird.
But anyways, we used to we used to go ride all the way out there. So it was normal whenever I was a kid because of how I grew up. and with the family I did, it was normal to rove around all over the place on my mom's side. On my dad's side, on the other hand, they all lived in complete gang central type stuff since they were kids. So you stuck to your neighborhoods because you knew those people. They were less dangerous than the neighborhood 4 blocks away.
Right.
So it was very different.
Well, I lived in North Hollywood for about a year, and I was just amazed at the difference between one side of Lancashire and the other. Lancashire's a road.
Right.
Because I found a little studio apartment or studio house, guest house type place. It was $550 a month for one place. It was $500 for the other. And the other was full of graffiti and chain link fences and barbed wire. And I thought, I'll pay the extra $50 because here I got a swimming pool and
Right.
nice landscaped yards and everything. It's just bizarre how different it is.
It is. It's
Like
really
graffiti
crazy.
on one side, and the other side it's lemon trees. It's kind of wild.
It is.
That's the
And
place
that's
where
pretty
that
much all of LA.
that's the place where that bank robbery happened at Bank of America, or what was it?
Oh, the big one with
Yeah.
where the guys were wearing the body
They had all the
and that-
armor and stuff, and the cops couldn't do nothing.
You're right. That was before SWAT teams became a real thing. That was actually whenever they started forming SWAT and started doing things, in the more modern fashion that we're used to, because that big bank robbery happened. Everybody was watching it on TV, and these bank robbers are running around with these fully automatic weapons. Cops are shooting them. They're actually shooting them. They're landing. You can see the impact on the body armor, but they were wearing body armor that literally had the neck all the way around it, the helmets. They were wearing everything. So like they're getting hit by all these bullets and they can't do anything. So they're walking down the
And
street.
they never got caught?
I think two out of the, because I think it was a team of like 3 guys, and I think 2 of the guys ended up getting caught. 1 guy got away. But yeah, so they were going along. They were like shooting with shotguns and everything else, and they were walking down with, fully automatic,
Like RoboCops.
and I think one of them had an AK-47, the other one, But anyways, yeah, they're going around and they stop, aim, and they're just firing back, and the cops with their little 9mm, they can't do anything.
And that's why things have changed so much.
Right.
Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries, it's 5:52, so we should wrap it up. We did a whole hour. That was pretty cool. It's not like a Joe Rogan kind of thing. He does like 3 and 4 hours.
Yeah, we don't need to do that.
I don't want to do that.
Nobody wants to hear us talk that long.
No, I don't even know if they stuck around this long, but they can watch it later.
Right. We actually got one comment though. That was
That's
nice.
right, that
What's
was
the
Sean.
comment?
He
And
said,
was it a question?
no, he said authenticity is better than professionalism. Love this topic.
Nice.
Yep. Is there anything else we should
His
say
name
about
is
the
Sean.
topic? Because it got derailed really fast.
Well, we talked about.
Well, I've been trying to
a lot
get
of it.
traffic on this. That we can talk a little bit about that because I'm frustrated with the way social media works. And someone was saying, I think it was Angela Obert, was saying that Eventbrite wants to charge now
Yes.
to be able to get.
That is why now I have a website that's set up so I can do my events and sell tickets through my own website because
Well, the reason I got on Eventbrite is because the audience that was there that was searching that, but now they're not there, so there's no real reason
yeah, that's true.
to do that.
I moved, so I
You
guess
moved, so I didn't know if it was picking you up, so
Oh,
I wanted to put it a little closer to you there.
yeah.
It'll be fine.
So yeah, everything is changing. It's still changing, and the thing that's really hard is that just when you think that maybe the algorithm you've figured it out, then it'll shift on you. So
Yeah.
I honestly I think there's a space at this point for people who that's what they do for that is their value that they bring to the business world, to networking organizations. And I'm not talking about social media managers necessarily. It's people that really know how to work with AI and know how to work with these algorithms. I think that is going to be a huge need going forward because, how are you going to compete with that?
I'm taking it off the internet because of constants and variables. The internet's all variable. So if you get a solution like a hacker, they're going to suppress that. So I'm going back to physical tickets and physical postcards. Come up here. Come up here, thing. See, there's physical. I can't get it out of there. There it is. This is, they can't change this.
Right.
I mean, they could destroy that somehow, but this has the printed piece and postcards that are delivered by the United States Postal Service. It costs 51 cents, and I can control that. I know what I'm paying.
As long as the U.S. Postal Service stays in.
It's gonna
Stays there,
it's
right?
gonna go up a little bit. Yeah, the Postal Service goes away, but even that stuff, I'm getting less response. It takes forever to get return to sender stuff back. So things are just overwhelming right now with everything moving so fast.
Yeah.
Well, and then then the part that you really are going to have to master and figure out is there are different generational ways of connecting and making relationships. So you're dealing with, yes, there are ways that your generation likes to connect and have relationships, but then we've got all these other ones, and they're all different.
And technology has moved so fast and so rapid over the past, since the internet really started becoming a thing in 1984, 1985. Here we are, and nowadays, and just the technology has just moved so fast. I mean, when I was first working, right, still wasn't common for people to have cell phones. That didn't become common until the early 2000s. But then all of a sudden now, social media still wasn't invented. So you still did a lot of face-to-face networking. But then social media was invented, and then everybody started trying to use different social media means.
Right.
So, and if you were a young person in that time frame, you were like, oh, chat rooms are going away. That's going the wayside. Now we're going towards social media. So, the way that they would do things would change. And then the next generation, the way they do everything has changed.
That's why what I'm doing with the stuff that I'm doing. And it's when I say the event industry, I just know the event industry. I'm also looking at other businesses that want to use an event. Like for your business, if you want to do a retreat, that's an event. Or if you want to do a training, that's an event.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm in the event industry. I know, we want to find a motor coach to take a group to ice fishing or whatever.
Yeah.
I can find all that stuff. But things that won't change is the first Thursday of every month. So if I can get people to remember the first Thursday of every month, now they just got to remember where it is. It's at Punch Bowl Social. So now you know where it is. And it's at 444. You can show up at 5, but if you show up at 444, you get some inside skinny. So 444, Punch Bowl Social on the first Thursday of the month.
Nice.
They can't change that.
Yep.
I hope not.
Well, I mean, it could be at a different venue, but
no, I'm saying
not between now and then.
I suppose they could put Punch Bowl Social out of business, so we have to go across the street.
Right.
But it's getting to be more underground, speakeasy type vibe of stuff. Because I want to dominate every day in the month.
Okay.
365.
Dominate it.
Yeah. Dominate the domain. So the first Thursday, we'll figure out a second Monday, we'll figure out.
I think as you're doing this, just be asking people lots of questions, asking them particularly about how they like to spend their time and what is it that they really value in their life.
Fun.
And they sound, it sounds like, these can be very deep conversations, but at the same time, if you know how someone spends their time or how they would like to be spending their time, you're going to be able to start creating events that really appeal to a lot more people. Because it's great to have an excuse to go do something I want to do, right? So that's the trick. Is find those things.
Well, it's just going to be a calendar, and we're going to go Top Golf, we're going to go mini golf, we're going to go to Acme Comedy, we're going to go to Can Wonderland, we're going to go to the Clapping Monkey Coffee House, we're going to go ice fishing with Angela, we're going to go to a sweat lodge with Casey.
Sure.
Well, but then there's we're gonna go you've got to introduce the we. Who is the
What?
we and who is the we
Any-
and what are they like?
Anybody that's in the know and they know what's happening on the first Thursday of every month.
Exactly. Okay. But you got to you got to help people get excited about the we. Because, I don't want to just hang out with any we. I want to hang out with
who's
the
right?
cool we.
Foosball people. You like foosball?
You know what? I've never played foosball.
They got a.
I was gonna say I don't think you've ever played
I
foosball.
don't think I have.
They've got a
around.
foosball table at Punch Bowl that has room for 8 people.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's 4 people on each side. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, if I go hang out with your we, I'm gonna have to go learn about a new game that I've never played before.
They've got pinball, they got Pac-Man, they've got air hockey, they got foosball, they got bowling, they got darts,
cool.
they got.
The one time I ever went to Punchball Social, I just sat there and hung out with people and ate food, and I didn't even realize that there was anything else in that place. And I was like, "Why is it so expensive here?"
There is food too.
And then I was like, "Oh, they have games. Now I understand."
They've got games, and the system that I'm working out. In fact, you benefited from it because I gave you $50.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm working this out so that when people are in the inner circle,
The inner circle gets the best deals.
they get sometimes more than they spent
Good.
because we're gonna get it from George.
Okay, let's do it.
He's got enough. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries, 6:01. We did a good job. So we've come to a peak.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm going to turn this off. Wave.
Awesome.
See you later,
See you
folks.
next
Bye.
week.